It was a small town, the kind where everyone knew each other, and secrets were as rare as hen's teeth. Becky and I had been together since high school, our love story one that folks thought would end up in fairy tales. I worked hard at the local hardware store, taking over from my daddy, who had run the place before me. Every dollar I earned, I put toward building our home with my own two hands. I remember the early mornings and late nights, my hands blistered and sore from hammering nails and lifting heavy beams. The smell of fresh-cut wood and the sound of saws filled the air as I labored, brick by brick, to create a place we could call our own. Becky would bring me lunch, her smile encouraging me when the work seemed endless. She'd watch as I worked, our future home taking shape under the sweat of my brow. The house wasn't just a building, it was our dream, a testament to our hard work and love. Every nail driven into the wood, every shingle laid on the roof, was a piece of me, a piece of us. I remember the pride swelling in my chest when I finally finished. The house stood tall and sturdy, ready to shelter us from the storms of life. Becky and Tommy were there with me, celebrating the completion of our new home. We moved in, settling into our life together. The small town embraced us, and our days were filled with routine and familiarity. I would head to the hardware store every morning, working long hours to provide for my family. Becky stayed home, taking care of Tommy and keeping the house in order. At least that's what I believed. Mama helped us out a lot, bless her soul. She'd bring groceries and give us some money now and then, always saying it was for Tommy's future. Becky would thank her, giving her that sweet smile that could melt anyone's heart. But behind that smile was a secret life I knew nothing about. The first hint of trouble came when I noticed small things missing. A few dollars here and there, jewelry that Becky said she'd misplaced. I brushed it off, thinking it was just my mind playing tricks on me. But the signs were there and I ignored them, trusting her completely. One day, I came home from work to an empty house. Becky's clothes were gone, Tommy's room was cleaned out, and there was a note on the kitchen table. My hands trembled as I read her words. "I'm sorry, Jack. I can't do this anymore. Tommy and I are leaving. Don't try to find us." Rage boiled inside me. I'd built this house with my own two hands, worked my fingers to the bone to provide for us, and she'd thrown it all away. How could she do this? How could she betray me so brazenly? I went through our things, searching for answers, and found bank statements hidden in the back of our closet. She'd been stealing money from me for years, taking what Mama gave us and stashing it away in a secret account. The realization hit me like a freight train. She'd been planning this for a long time, deceiving me, taking advantage of my trust. Anger and disappointment consumed me. How could she be so heartless? To steal from her own family, to take our son and leave without a word. I felt like a fool, blind to her lies and manipulations. My heart ached for Tommy, my little boy, who was caught in the middle of this mess. I hired a private investigator, determined to find them and bring Tommy home. It took months, each day an agony of waiting and wondering, but finally, the investigator found a lead. Becky was living in another city, with a man who looked eerily like me, only 20 years older. The sight of them together, in the photos the investigator showed me, made my blood boil. She left me for an older version of myself. The sheer audacity of it was like a slap in the face. Confronting her was the hardest thing I ever did. I drove to that city, my heart pounding in my chest, not knowing what to expect. When I saw them together, it was like a knife to the heart. Becky looked happy, and Tommy, he looked confused but okay. I didn't know what to say, how to react. Anger welled up inside me, but I had to keep my cool for Tommy's sake. "Why, Becky, why'd you do this to us?" I demanded, my voice breaking. She looked at me with a mix of guilt and defiance. "I needed more, Jack. I needed something you couldn't give me. He can give us a better life." "A better life?" I spat out, feeling the sting of betrayal. "You think taking my son and stealing from me is a better life?" She didn't have an answer, just looked away. I turned to Tommy, kneeling down to his level. "Tommy, do you want to come home with Daddy?" He looked at Becky, then back at me, tears welling up in his eyes. "I want to go home, Daddy. It wasn't easy, but I fought for custody and won." Becky didn't put up much of a fight. Maybe she knew deep down what she did was wrong. I brought Tommy back to our small town, trying to rebuild our lives piece by piece. It was hard, harder than I ever imagined. Trust was a fragile thing, and my heart was scarred. The days were long and lonely, but I kept busy, working on the house, fixin' what needed fixin', and making it a home for Tommy and me. Every nail I hammered, every board I cut, was a reminder of the life we were building together, without her. The pain of her betrayal never fully went away, but it dulled with time, replaced by the joy of raising my boy. I made sure Tommy knew he was loved, that he had a future, even if it was just the two of us. We found our new normal, creating new memories and filling our lives with small victories. I taught him to fish, just like my daddy taught me, and we spent long afternoons at the lake talking and laughing. Those moments were a balm for my wounded heart. Years passed, and Tommy grew into a fine young man, strong and kind. He never forgot his mama, but he understood why things happened the way they did. I made sure he knew it wasn't his fault, that he was loved no matter what. We built new memories, filled our lives with new joys and small victories, and in the quiet moments, when the pain resurfaced, I found strength in the love of my boy and the simple life we created together. In the end, I realized that no matter how deep the hurt, there's always a way to heal. Tommy and I found our way back to happiness, one day at a time, in that small town that had seen us through the worst and the best of times. The lessons were hard, the scars were deep, but the love that held us together was stronger than any betrayal. And so, we moved forward, step by step, leaving the past behind, but never forgetting it. It shaped us, made us who we were, but it didn't define our future. We had each other, and that was enough. In that small town, under the wide open sky, we found our peace, our home, and a new beginning. The journey to that point, though, was not as simple as it sounds. After Becky left, my life was turned upside down. I couldn't believe the woman I'd loved, the mother of my child, had been deceiving me for years. It felt like a betrayal of the deepest kind, not just against me, but against our family, our future. I spent countless sleepless nights trying to understand why. What had I done wrong? Where had I failed her? But no matter how much I tortured myself with these questions, there were no clear answers. I was left with a hole in my heart and a son who needed me more than ever. Work became my refuge. The hardware store, once just a means to an end, became my sanctuary. There, amidst the tools and timber, I could focus on something tangible, something I could fix. I threw myself into projects, rebuilding the store, expanding it, making it better than before. It was a way to keep my mind off the pain, off the emptiness of our home. Tommy, bless his heart, was a trooper. He didn't understand everything that had happened, but he knew enough to see that our lives had changed. I made sure to be there for him, to fill the void left by his mama. We'd have our nightly routines, reading stories before bed, talking about his day at school. He was my anchor, the reason I kept pushing forward. The hardest part was seeing the pity in people's eyes. Small towns are like that. Everyone knows your business. Some folks tried to comfort me, others just whispered behind my back. But there were a few, like my mama, who stood by me without judgment, offering support in the quiet ways that meant the most. As time went on, I started to see the cracks in the facade that Becky had built. The financial trail she left behind was damning. She hadn't just taken from me, she'd taken from our future, from Tommy's future. It made my blood boil to think of the sacrifices I'd made, the late nights and long hours, all while she was plotting her escape. The day I finally tracked her down was a turning point. The private investigator I'd hired had done his job well. I remember staring at the photos he handed me, my hands shaking with rage and disbelief. There she was, living a new life with a man who was a dead ringer for me, just older. It was like looking into a twisted mirror. When I confronted her, the anger and disappointment I felt were overwhelming. She tried to justify her actions, saying she needed more than I could give her. But all I could see was the betrayal, the lies, and the pain she'd caused. Taking Tommy away from me was unforgivable. Fighting for custody was a battle, but one I was determined to win. Becky's new life couldn't erase the years we'd spent together, the love and care I'd given our son. I was prepared to go to any lengths to bring him back home, where he belonged. And eventually, I did win. Tommy came back to me and we started to rebuild our lives. Our house needed work. It was more than just physical repairs. It was about reclaiming it as our home, a place of safety and love. Every project I undertook was a step towards healing. Tommy and I worked together, painting walls, fixing the roof, making it our own again. As the years passed, the pain of Becky's betrayal faded, replaced by the joy of watching Tommy grow. He was a bright, curious boy, always eager to learn new things. I made sure he had every opportunity, working hard to give him a future filled with possibilities. We made new memories, creating traditions that were just ours. Fishing trips to the lake, where we'd sit for hours talking and laughing. Sunday breakfasts, where Tommy would help me make pancakes, his laughter filling the kitchen. These were the moments that healed my heart, that reminded me of the good things in life. In time, I found peace. The anger and disappointment that once consumed me were replaced by a quiet acceptance. Becky's actions had hurt deeply, but they didn't define who I was or the life Tommy and I were building. We were stronger than the pain, stronger than the betrayal. Looking back, I realized that the house I built with my own hands was more than just a physical structure. It was a symbol of resilience, of love, and of the unbreakable bond between a father and his son. No matter what life threw at us, we had each other, and that was enough. The small town that had seen us through so much remained our home, a place filled with memories and new beginnings. Under the wide open sky, we found our peace, our sense of belonging. And as Tommy grew into a fine young man, I knew that the love and strength we shared would carry us through whatever challenges lay ahead. Our journey wasn't easy, but it was ours. We faced the darkness and emerged stronger, bound by a love that no betrayal could break. And in that small town, in the house I built with my own hands, we found our happiness, one day at a time. As Tommy grew older, our lives settled into a comfortable rhythm. We filled our days with small joys and everyday routines. I taught Tommy how to ride a bike on the quiet streets of our neighborhood, his laughter echoing as he wobbled and then found his balance. Those were the moments that made the hard times fade into the background. On weekends, we would work on small projects around the house. Tommy loved to help, his little hands eager to learn. Whether it was building a birdhouse or planting a garden, these tasks became our bonding time. It was a way to teach him practical skills while reinforcing the importance of hard work and perseverance. The hardware store became a second home for Tommy. After school, he would come by and do his homework in the back office. The customers adored him, and he loved to help them find what they needed. Seeing him take an interest in the store brought me immense pride. It was a glimpse into the future, knowing that one day he might take over the business just like I had from my daddy. Life was not without its challenges, but we faced them together. There were times when memories of Becky would resurface, bringing a pang of sadness. I wondered if Tommy missed her, but he rarely talked about her. I made sure he knew it was okay to feel whatever he was feeling, that it was okay to miss her. Tommy excelled in school, his natural curiosity driving him to learn as much as he could. I attended every parent-teacher conference, every school event, cheering him on from the sidelines. His achievements became a source of joy and pride, a testament to the life we were building despite the hardships. As he entered his teenage years, our relationship evolved. We talked more about life, about his dreams and aspirations. He wanted to go to college, to study engineering. It was a goal I fully supported, and we started saving every penny we could to make it happen. I worked extra hours, took on more responsibilities at the store, all to ensure he had the opportunities I never did. We continued our fishing trips, a tradition that never lost its charm. Those quiet moments by the lake were where we had our deepest conversations. It was there that Tommy told me about his first crush, about his fears and his hopes. I listened, offering advice when needed, but mostly just being there for him. As the years went by, I watched Tommy grow into a young man. His resemblance to me was striking, but he had his mother's eyes. There were moments when I saw her in him, a bittersweet reminder of the past. But those moments also reminded me of how far we had come, of the life we had built together. Tommy graduated high school with honors, and I couldn't have been prouder. The entire town showed up for his graduation party, a testament to the community that had supported us through thick and thin. It was a joyous occasion, filled with laughter, stories, and a few tears. Tommy was on his way to college, a new chapter in his life. The day he left for college was one of the hardest days for me. I stood on the porch of our house, the house I had built with my own hands, and watched him drive away. The pride I felt was mixed with a profound sense of emptiness. The house felt bigger, quieter without him. I threw myself into work, expanding the hardware store, turning it into a thriving business. It was a way to keep busy, to keep the loneliness at bay. But there was also a sense of fulfillment in knowing that I was building something for Tommy to come back to. We kept in touch regularly. Tommy called every week, updating me on his classes, his friends, and his new experiences. Hearing his voice, knowing he was doing well, was a comfort. He came home for holidays and summer breaks, and those times were filled with stories and laughter, catching up on everything we had missed. One summer, Tommy suggested we renovate the house. It was a project we took on together, just like old times. We knocked down walls, put up new ones, and gave the house a fresh look. It was hard work, but it was also a way to reconnect, to work side by side again. The finished house was a blend of the old and the new, a symbol of our journey. As Tommy's college years flew by, he grew into an even more remarkable young man. He graduated with a degree in engineering, and his future was bright. I was there at his graduation, standing in the crowd, beaming with pride. It was a moment I had dreamed of, a culmination of all the hard work and sacrifices. Tommy got a job in the city, a promising start to his career. I encouraged him to spread his wings, to explore the world beyond our small town. But he always made time to visit, to come back to the place that would always be home. Each visit was a reminder of the bond we shared, a bond that had only grown stronger over the years. Eventually, Tommy met someone special, a kind-hearted woman named Sarah. They fell in love, and it wasn't long before they were planning a future together. I was thrilled for him, knowing that he had found happiness. Their wedding was a beautiful affair filled with joy and love. I stood by Tommy's side, proud of the man he had become. Life continued its steady march forward. I continued to run the hardware store, a pillar of the community. The house, now renovated and filled with memories, stood as a testament to our resilience. Tommy and Sarah visited often, and their presence brought life and laughter back into the old house. As the years went by, I found peace in the rhythm of my days. The pain of Becky's betrayal had long since faded, replaced by the joy of the life Tommy and I had built. I often thought about the journey we had taken, the challenges we had overcome. It hadn't been easy, but it had been worth it. Tommy and Sarah had children of their own, and I became a grandfather. Seeing my grandchildren grow up in the same small town, playing in the yard of the house I had built, brought a sense of fulfillment I hadn't known was possible. The love and laughter of a new generation filled our home, and I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the life we had. One day as I sat on the porch watching the sunset, Tommy joined me. We sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then he turned to me. "VJ Dad, I want to thank you VDJKJ," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "VDJ for everything, for being there, for raising me, for giving me a life filled with love and opportunities. I wouldn't be who I am without you. JK." I looked at him, my heart swelling with pride and love. "VDNJ, it was my honor, son. You've made me prouder than I ever thought possible." JKJ. We sat there, watching the sun dip below the horizon, the sky painted in shades of orange and pink. It was a perfect moment, a culmination of a lifetime of love, hard work, and resilience. In the end, I realized that no matter how deep the hurt, there's always a way to heal. Tommy and I had found our way back to happiness, one day at a time, in that small town that had seen us through the worst and the best of times. The lessons were hard, the scars were deep, but the love that held us together was stronger than any betrayal. And so, we moved forward, step by step, leaving the past behind, but never forgetting it. It shaped us, made us who we were, but it didn't define our future. We had each other, and that was enough. In that small town, under the wide open sky, we found our peace, our home, and a new beginning. Our journey wasn't easy, but it was ours. We faced the darkness and emerged stronger, bound by a love that no betrayal could break. And in that small town, in the house I built with my own hands, we found our happiness, one day at a time. As the evening progressed, Jake realized that he had come a long way from the neglected, bullied boy he once was. He had built a life of purpose and success, and he had earned the respect of those around him. While his parents' and brothers' attitudes had changed, he knew that his self-worth was no longer tied to their approval. With Mark's apology still fresh in his mind, Jake decided to take steps to rebuild his relationships with his family. The trust fund he had set up for his parents eased their financial burdens, allowing Bob to find a new job without the immediate pressure of bills. Linda began volunteering at a local community center, which brought her a sense of purpose she had been missing. Despite these positive changes, the scars from Jake's childhood remained. He knew that healing would take time and effort from all sides. He started by inviting his family to his apartment in D.C. for a weekend visit, hoping to bridge the emotional gap that had formed over the years. The weekend was a mix of awkward moments and genuine connection. They visited museums, had long dinners, and even attended one of Jake's speaking engagements, where he discussed his work on the corruption investigation. Seeing their son in his element, speaking with confidence and authority, seemed to leave a lasting impression on Bob and Linda. On the last night of their visit, they sat together in Jake's living room. Bob uncharacteristically broke the silence. "Jake, we've made a lot of mistakes," Bob said, his voice heavy with regret. "We didn't support you the way we should have. I see now how wrong we were, and I'm truly sorry." Linda nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "We were so focused on Mark and what we thought was best for him that we neglected you. We can't change the past, but we want to make things right now." Jake felt a lump in his throat as he listened to his parents' apologies. "I appreciate that, Dad, Mom. It hasn't been easy, but I've learned to find my own way. I'm willing to work on our relationship, but it will take time." The sincerity in their apologies marked the beginning of a slow but steady process of reconciliation. Jake visited his parents more frequently, and they made an effort to attend events he was involved in. The conversations became more meaningful, and they started to understand and appreciate Jake's passion for journalism. Mark, too, made efforts to reconnect with Jake. They began meeting for lunch and catching up on each other's lives. Mark expressed his admiration for Jake's resilience and success, and Jake, in turn, found himself respecting Mark's journey as well. Their relationship, once strained by competition and jealousy, began to transform into one of mutual respect and support. One day, Jake received an invitation to speak at a major journalism conference. It was a prestigious event, and he decided to invite his family to attend. He wanted them to see firsthand the impact of his work and how far he had come. The conference was held in a grand hall, filled with prominent journalists, editors, and media professionals. As Jake took the stage, he spotted his parents and Mark in the audience, their expressions filled with pride and anticipation. "Good evening, everyone," Jake began, his voice steady and confident. "Today I want to talk about the power of perseverance and the importance of finding one's own path, no matter the obstacles." He shared his journey, from being the overlooked and bullied youngest son to becoming a successful journalist. He spoke about the challenges he faced, the mentors who believed in him, and the inner strength that drove him to succeed. The audience listened intently, and Jake felt a profound sense of fulfillment as he saw his family's proud faces. After the speech, Bob, Linda, and Mark approached him, their eyes shining with pride and emotion. "Jake, that was incredible," Linda said, hugging him tightly. "We're so proud of you." "You've come so far, Jake," Bob added, his voice choked with emotion. "We're proud to call you our son." Mark nodded, a broad smile on his face. "You did great, little brother. Truly inspiring." In that moment, Jake felt a sense of peace and closure. The pain of his past hadn't disappeared, but it had been transformed into a source of strength. He had built a life of purpose and success, and he had earned the respect and love of his family. With the reconciliation process well underway, Jake began to feel a sense of balance in his life that he had never experienced before. He continued to excel in his career, earning promotions and accolades for his investigative work. His reputation as a tenacious and insightful journalist grew, opening doors to opportunities he had only dreamed of. One day, while working on a major story about corporate fraud, Jake received a call from a prominent publisher, interested in turning his investigative pieces into a book. The offer was both exciting and daunting, but Jake knew it was a chance to reach an even wider audience and make a significant impact. As he worked on the book, Jake found himself reflecting on his journey. He wrote about the struggles of his childhood, the bullying he faced, and the lack of support from his parents. He also wrote about the mentors who believed in him, the triumphs he achieved, and the eventual reconciliation with his family. The process was cathartic, allowing him to process his past and celebrate his successes. Meanwhile, his relationship with his family continued to improve. Bob and Linda began to understand and appreciate Jake's work on a deeper level. They often discussed his articles and the issues he covered, expressing genuine interest and pride. Mark, too, became one of Jake's biggest supporters, often sharing his brother's work with his own colleagues and friends. One evening, while Jake was visiting his parents, they sat down for a candid conversation. "Jake, we've been reading the drafts of your book," Linda said, her voice filled with emotion. "It's beautifully written, and it really opened our eyes to what you went through." Bob nodded in agreement. "We had no idea how much you were struggling. We failed you, and we're sorry, but we're so proud of the man you've become." Jake felt a wave of gratitude and forgiveness. "Thank you, Mom, Dad. It means a lot to hear that. I've come to terms with the past, and I'm just happy we can move forward together." As the book neared completion, Jake received another unexpected opportunity, an offer to host a weekly investigative journalism segment on a major news network. The show would allow him to delve deeper into the stories he was passionate about and bring important issues to a national audience. It was a dream come true, and Jake eagerly accepted. The show's premiere was a resounding success, and Jake quickly became a recognizable face in the world of journalism. His segments were praised for their depth, integrity, and impact. He used the platform to shine a light on injustices, hold powerful figures accountable, and give a voice to the voiceless. With his career reaching new heights, Jake decided it was time to give back. He established a scholarship fund for aspiring journalists from underprivileged backgrounds, hoping to provide them with the support and opportunities he had struggled to find. The scholarship was named after Mr. Thompson, the teacher who had believed in him when no one else did. At the scholarship's inaugural ceremony, Jake stood before a group of bright, eager students and shared his story. He spoke about the challenges he faced, the mentors who had guided him, and the importance of perseverance. "Remember, your past does not define you," Jake said, his voice filled with conviction. "Your determination, your passion, and your integrity will shape your future. Believe in yourselves, and never let anyone tell you that you can't achieve your dreams." The audience erupted in applause, and Jake felt a profound sense of fulfillment. He had come full circle, from the bullied, neglected child to a successful journalist and mentor. His journey had been filled with pain and struggle, but it had also been marked by resilience, growth, and triumph. As the ceremony concluded, Jake's family approached him, their faces beaming with pride. "We're so proud of you, Jake," Linda said, hugging him tightly. "You've done incredible things," Bob added, his voice choked with emotion. "We're honored to be your parents." Mark clapped him on the back. "You've inspired so many people, Jake, including me." Jake smiled, feeling a deep sense of peace and accomplishment. He had not only achieved his dreams, but had also mended the broken bonds with his family. His journey was far from over, but he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that he had the strength, determination, and support to overcome them. With his family relationships mended and his career at its peak, Jake felt an overwhelming sense of fulfillment. He had achieved more than he had ever dreamed possible, both personally and professionally. However, he knew that his journey was far from over. He wanted to create a lasting impact and give back to the community that had supported him in his darkest times. Jake's weekly investigative journalism segment continued to gain popularity. Each episode shed light on pressing issues and sparked important conversations across the nation. His dedication to uncovering the truth and advocating for justice earned him numerous awards, including the prestigious Pulitzer Prize. The recognition was a testament to his hard work and unwavering commitment to his craft. Despite his busy schedule, Jake remained dedicated to his scholarship fund. He regularly met with the recipients, offering guidance and mentorship. He saw himself in these young, aspiring journalists and was determined to provide them with the support he had once desperately needed. The fund grew, attracting donations from prominent figures in the media industry, and soon became a significant force in shaping the future of journalism. One day, Jake received an invitation to deliver the commencement address at his alma mater, State University. It was a full-circle moment for him, and he eagerly accepted. As he stood on the stage, looking out at the faces of the graduating class, He felt a profound sense of pride and responsibility. "Graduates, today marks the beginning of your journey," Jake began, his voice steady and confident. "You will face challenges, doubts, and setbacks. But remember, your perseverance and integrity will define your path. Embrace your passion, seek the truth, and never let anyone tell you that you cannot achieve greatness." His speech was met with a standing ovation, and Jake felt a deep connection to the students. After the ceremony, many of them approached him, sharing their dreams and seeking advice. Jake took the time to speak with each one, offering words of encouragement and wisdom. Back in Washington, D.C., Jake's parents and Mark had become frequent visitors. They attended his speaking engagements, watched his show religiously, and celebrated his successes with genuine pride. Their relationships had evolved into ones of mutual respect and support. Jake felt a sense of belonging he had never experienced before. One evening, while having dinner with his family, Jake announced his next big project. "I've been thinking a lot about the future and how I can continue to make a difference," he said, looking around the table. "I want to start a foundation dedicated to investigative journalism. It will provide resources, training, and support for journalists who are committed to uncovering the truth and advocating for justice." Bob, Linda, and Mark listened intently, their faces filled with admiration. "That's a wonderful idea, Jake," Linda said, her eyes shining with pride. "We're behind you all the way." "Count me in," Mark added. "I can help with the financial and strategic planning." With his family's support, Jake launched the foundation. It quickly became a beacon for aspiring journalists, offering grants, training programs, and a platform for important investigative work. The foundation's impact was far-reaching, influencing policies and bringing about meaningful change. As the years passed, Jake continued to balance his work with his role as a mentor and philanthropist. His legacy grew, inspiring countless individuals to pursue their passions and make a difference in the world. He often reflected on his journey, the pain and struggles that had shaped him, and the resilience that had driven him to succeed. In the end, Jake had not only built a successful career, but had also created a lasting legacy. He had transformed his pain into purpose, his struggles into strength, and his dreams into reality. Surrounded by the love and support of his family, he knew that he had truly come full circle. Jake's story was one of triumph over adversity, a testament to the power of perseverance and the importance of following one's passion. It was a story that would be told for generations, inspiring others to rise above their challenges and reach for greatness. And as Jake looked to the future, he knew that he was ready for whatever lay ahead, confident in the knowledge that he had the strength, determination, and support to face any challenge.